Hi, thanks for sticking it out. We've saved some of the best for last, hopefully. I'm going to share a perspective about AI from the global view today as I lead our US and global business. So I'll cover 4 topics, looking at how generative AI is being adopted around the world and patterns that we're seeing, use cases that are of particular focus, specifically contract review, why that's the case and what we're doing to serve contract review and build legal AI for that. And lastly, a perspective about where we think AI is going over the next few years. So let me start by looking at the survey results. And instead of telling you just what our company sees, what I wanted to do is pull together all of the research that we've found across the entire industry, from other companies and from consultancies too, to look at what all of the survey results are telling us about how lawyers are adopting AI, how they're using it, and how much they're spending on it. And the short story is that these survey results don't always agree. So I'll walk you through them and we'll see some patterns emerge though. So the first thing is a survey by LexisNexis. They have found that most professionals, most legal professionals have tried generative AI at this point. 80% have used it personally or professionally. Fewer have purchased it for their organizations or are using it for legal matters. And the Fortune 1000 are using it just as much, in some cases, as law firms on a personal or professional basis, but we see a little bit lower adoption amongst companies so far. In our own survey work, we've found that 80% of organizations rate AI for legal adoption as important. And this is a broad survey across companies. Another company called Clio, which serves lots of lawyers in smaller law firms, has also found that around 80% of the lawyers have adopted AI, have adopted generative AI in some capacity. And so then we can start to look at the intensity of that usage. Are people using AI daily? Are they using it weekly or monthly? So the Association of Corporate Counsel, a large association, also has done a survey, and they found a very high usage rate on a weekly basis. They report 70% of lawyers saying they use generative AI weekly. That's not consistent with some survey results from others, though. Juro, a company, has found that lawyers are reporting less frequent usage, about 20% using it every day, another 25% using it every week. And lastly, the National Bureau of Economic Research has found that legal's usage intensity is relatively low compared to other industries. They've found less than 20% are using it weekly or daily. So we see some disagreement in the numbers there. Bain & Company has run surveys across enterprise organizations, and they've found that enterprise legal teams have low formal adoption, but the pilots of trying out generative AI have doubled year over year. It's still relatively lower than every other functional area, though: HR, operations, marketing, and sales. Regardless of this level of adoption, put in perspective and compared to the adoption of cloud about 10 years ago, or starting about 10 years ago, AI is being adopted much more quickly, 5 times faster than cloud. So this is a survey from Everlaw, and they've found that generative AI adoption has reached about 34% in just 2 years, and it took cloud 10 years to reach the same level. So we do know that this adoption trend is moving very, very swiftly. And this confirms that. This is research from IDC. They report that compared to 2 years ago, 50% of respondents report increased usage. And a lot more plan to adopt it in the next year. So they report that almost everybody who hasn't yet adopted AI is planning to adopt it in the next year or two. So in short, we're seeing fairly wide ranges of survey results of adoption amongst lawyers. The context matters. It's important to look specifically at results within companies versus law firms and within the size of the organization. We see differences between large organizations and smaller ones. It's safe to say that legal's adoption is moving more slowly than other functions within businesses, but use is significantly increasing year over year, and it's moving much faster than some other technology adoptions we've seen, and further adoption increases are expected. On this graph here, you can see this is a traditional graph of the adoption of technology. It reflects innovators moving fastest to pick up new technology, and then early adopters, and then this moves through a stage of the early majority and then the late majority, reflecting the curve of how long it takes and the types of people that adopt technology over time. As I look at the averages of the survey results, I'd say that we're somewhere in the early majority stage of this adoption. Maybe 10 to 30% of people are using it on a daily to weekly basis on average in the legal profession. Okay, so what are they using it for? What are the use cases and benefits? LexisNexis reports that contracts are the top use case for in-house teams at companies, and legal research is the top use case for law firms. IDC reports that adoption across a wide array of use cases will increase significantly, but within contract analysis, again, talking about contracts, about 90% expect to be using AI within the next 5 years. 60% expect to be using it within the next year. Very high percentages focused on contract review, confirming that is an important use case. Deloitte has also found this. They've found that contracts and commercial work, over 90% expect that to be a big area impacted by Gen AI. And specifically, that means things like document review, contract summarization, contract analysis. What is it about this that people are looking for? Why are people excited about the benefits of Gen AI? Well, again, we can see survey results that tell us people are perceiving the benefits to be around automating low-level tasks, meaning saving them time. Saving money, that can mean from reduced outside counsel spend. It can mean enhancing the quality of review, improving the quality of legal work provided with support from AI, and specifically around analyzing contracts and spotting issues that may otherwise be missed. So in short, while adoption rates may vary in terms of who's using it and how much they're using it, the use cases that we're actually seeing are quite consistent in the survey results. Contract review and analysis is the top in-house use case. And Gen AI is already having an impact, we see that in the data, in terms of automating low-level tasks, saving money, and improving compliance. So how are people budgeting and spending on this type of new technology? Well, again, LexisNexis has found in a survey result that about 30% of organizations now have specifically budgeted for Gen AI tools. A little bit higher in law firms, a little bit lower in Fortune 1000 companies. Menlo Ventures, a large venture capital fund, has found that relative to other functions, legal teams are kind of eating last. They're spending the least on generative AI, just 3% of budget compared to other areas like IT, product, customer support. But future investments are expected to grow. KPMG has found that over 80% of respondents to their survey believe that investment in generative AI will grow over the next 3 years, and about 80% believe that they're going to see positive ROI on those investments with confidence. So, in short, legal organizations are starting to budget for Gen AI tools. We're already seeing 30% plus or so budgeting specifically for this tool. Legal is spending relatively less than other functional areas, and most organizations plan to increase their spend on Gen AI tools. So why is it that contract review is getting this attention? A couple weeks ago, I had a post on LinkedIn that went viral, and ultimately there were almost 3 million people who saw it. And I was curious about why. Why did this particular post get so much attention? Because what I said in this post was I simply pointed out some facts, which is that big law firms today in the United States are paying $225,000 salaries to law school graduates just from this year. You just graduated from law school, they'll pay you $225,000. They charge out those attorneys at $600 to $800 per hour to their customers, their clients. In-house teams, by comparison, work at a fraction of the cost. They're almost 10 times cheaper than paying $800 an hour for a big law firm lawyer. And so as law firm rates go up, there's obviously value in working with law firms, but as their rates go up, the incentive to move work in-house accelerates. And AI enables this by freeing up teams to do contract review tasks faster and spend more time on other matters. And so why is this the case? Why is contract review so important for this overall ecosystem? Well, review is a very time-consuming task in handling contracts. It doesn't scale traditionally. To do more review, you had to hire more people, or you needed to make decisions about what contracts you reviewed and which you didn't, or you needed to move more quickly and jeopardize missing something. So what do you do about that without new technology? That's why there's been so much excitement about technology that can help solve this contract review problem. Legal AI is here, Gen AI is here, but it needs guardrails, we're seeing. In the US, it's still common to find lawyers being punished and sanctioned for using common tools like ChatGPT to try to do legal research. These are not professional grade tools, and they make things up. Research from Stanford has found that large language models are hallucinating 70 to 80% of the time when they try to answer questions about legal matters. And so generative AI by itself, without guardrails, is not a good answer for lawyers. So let's situate this in the broader workflow. Contract review is part of a process with intake and review and negotiation and signature and then managing your contracts. And with review, it's the most time-consuming step typically. And the benefits are similar to what we saw earlier in the survey results. People are looking for faster reviews, cost savings, ensuring compliance with their company's standards, and identifying risks that they might otherwise miss. As generative AI affects this area, it's also going to affect the broader workflow. I think we'll see transformation in how companies manage intake of legal requests, how they manage negotiation, and how they manage storing and making sense of the contracts that they already have. But to have legal AI that actually does this work successfully, we believe there's 4 critical components. The first is that these tools must be grounded in true, trusted, up-to-date legal content so that they're not making up important legal ideas that are wrong. They're not making up language that's bad. They're making up facts that are wrong. The second thing is that these tools need to align with a company's own standards, and they need to be developed to be supportive of personalization of those companies' unique preferences. They need to be, third, secure and private. Companies need to know that their data is safe and that their usage is not going to be shared with other companies. And fourth, they need to be ready to go right away. They need to work very quickly with low implementation costs. So we've focused a lot of attention on trying to meet companies wherever they are in their journey of contracts and AI. Some organizations we find are still working from mostly individual judgment. They don't have contract review guidelines, they don't have templates that they use, and for that, we've built lots of material that helps them use us as a foundation to get started reviewing contracts successfully. Other organizations have some guidelines in place, some rules that they follow, some language that they like to use again and again. With them, we say build from what you have and add it to what we can give you. We'll give you a foundation and you can build on top of it. And lastly, we find organizations that are very sophisticated with lots of templates, lots of rules to follow, lots of guidelines in place and training. And that's great too. And we say, instead of relying on our foundations, rely on our technology, which can turn all of your instructions into AI and spot issues for you, make changes just the way that you want them. This is an example of the foundation that we'll supply to companies that are looking for guidelines that work right away. our team of in-house attorneys builds content, builds playbooks that help companies spot issues in contracts and then solve those issues. And so this provides the starting point of foundation for how to thoroughly review contracts and spot risks. But we don't leave it there. We want to make sure that every business can review contracts in the way that works for them and their unique preferences. So we can automate their rules and take their guidelines and turn them into AI that will spot those issues and make changes just the way they want them, reviewing against their own standards and their own template agreements. And we're seeing, like we saw in the survey data, real results from our customers who are using this technology. CPG is a data center service company. They've reported more than 85% time savings on reviewing NDAs. Another company we serve is a semiconductor, and they've reported 50% time savings in training new staff members to the legal team who can now review contracts starting in days rather than in weeks. We also have a customer called ECI, which services power companies and utilities. They report a 50% time savings in turning around contracts faster. So automating tasks, saving money, doing things faster, real results that align with the perceived benefits that our customers are hoping to get. As we look ahead, there's lots of exciting things to anticipate over the next few years. So where is AI going for in-house legal? We've developed a framework that thinks of this as taking place in 5 stages, 5 levels of AI autonomy. The first is basic assistant, which means that AI can identify types of contracts and certain clauses within contracts. This is capable, and this has been available for several years. The second level of autonomy is enhanced assistance. That means AI can extract information from those contracts and clauses. This has also been available for a few years. The third level is where we're at today, advanced assistance. This means that AI can review and automatically revise and draft certain contracts and clauses, but legal needs to be there to review and approve all of that work. The next level that we're looking forward to and trying to develop the technology actually accomplish is high automation, level 4, where AI can fully review and fully revise and draft contracts in limited domains. Under certain circumstances, you can trust AI to do these types of tasks. And legal sets the standards, but doesn't need to be as involved in that work. And the last level is level 5, which is full automation, imagining that AI can fully review and revise and draft contracts in all situations under all circumstances. That feels pretty far away to me, actually. The closer you get to contracts, the more you see the challenges and the nuances of doing this with automation and the importance of having humans in the loop, lawyers who are making decisions and using judgment about what matters and what's unique about a particular deal. So I'm not sure when we're going to move through these next stages. There's a lot of value being unlocked just right now, just today, with advanced assistance. But it means that lawyers are an integral part of the process. They're a critical step in setting the guidelines, doing the review. But we are seeing dramatic time savings and efficiencies and quality improvements. Our own roadmap has followed this trajectory too. So in 2023, we launched AI Revise, which can redline contracts automatically. In 2024, we launched Assistant, which can draft and summarize contracts and answer contract questions. And it's also more customized to your alerts and your business preferences. Our technology can take your standards and rules, turn them into AI to spot those issues in contracts. Next year, what we're looking forward to, and I think you'll hear more about this in the next session, is faster reviews that are even more accurate, more nuanced, more tailored to your business, and tailored and built on your knowledge and your risk preferences in even deeper ways. Over the next 3 years, looking ahead a little bit further, one of the expressions that I've been hearing over the last year is fear, which is that AI is going to take your job. And if it doesn't take your job, well, a lawyer who uses AI is going to take your job. And I don't think AI is about competition in that sense. It's not about having to use AI because you're desperate to keep your job and stay employed. Instead, it's about unlocking time to elevate your work, where AI can handle tasks and you can focus on judgment and problem solving and creativity. That's what we're seeing expressed in the survey results. People are hungry for technology that can help them automate the most low-level parts of their job so that they can save time, focus on more strategic work, save money, work more collaboratively. All sorts of benefits there rather than being driven by fear. So it's not just working smarter when you have these tools. It's about redefining where you get to spend your time. And I think we heard that from Anthony earlier in the day from Microsoft, talking about his usage of tools really starting to change how he was spending his time, where he was spending his effort and his attention, and where his teams were spending their time and energy and attention. So on this curve of adoption, if today we're in this sort of early adopter, early majority stage, I think over the next 3 years, we're going to move through a rapid adoption of this technology, specifically in contract review. By the end of 3 years from now, I would not be surprised if we have 80% or more of legal teams using contract review AI to help them review contracts. And when we reach that point, I think folks who are using this technology will be asking themselves, how did I ever do this work without AI? That's how transformative it'll be. So I'm actually going to finish a little bit early, and thank you.